Otters are a really important part of this ecosystem, and they have been for, as far as we can tell, thousands of years. And otters lived alongside humans, the Cherokee and the Cherokee's ancestors, during that time. There are areas within the Cades Cove that are actually named after the otter's presence there. Within a few decades, or at least 100 years after European settlement came, they were completely extirpated from that region. Extirpated meaning made extinct regionally. So there were no more otters, river otters, within the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. That was from things like fur trading, trapping, hunting, as well as just alterations in the land use. So it being a huge forest turning into a lot of logging areas. So all of those things together made it really inhospitable to otters living here. Any predator species has a top-down control over some of the populations of their prey species. So for otters in particular, things like some fish species, some of our native fish, the mad toms and the darters, as well as salamanders. They've even been seen eating the largest salamander species in the US, which is the hellbender. But they often will eat things like crawdads. So because they're kind of controlling the population of all of those other species within the river ecosystem, it allows more of a balance. Whereas if you remove that top predator, that otter species, you don't have as much control over the prey populations themselves. There was reintroductions of otters. Many of them were sourced in North Carolina into this area, particularly Abrams Creek and Cades Cove was where we started reintroducing otters. And since then, they've expanded their region and their range so that they're found in most of the low elevation, larger creeks and rivers like the one behind me here at the Middle Prong. So a number of years ago, Maryville College, which is located here in Maryville, Tennessee, and the Great Smoky Mountains Institute at Tremont, as well as the National Park Service, got together and wanted to figure out what would be the best way to document where the river otter themselves actually are. So we know where we introduced them to, but are they thriving? Are they moving to other areas? And if they are moving to other areas, what do the fish populations look like? What land use what are they using? Otters do something like other mammals do, where they have a latrine site. So they might go and poop and leave their scat in one area. What areas are those? Why do they need them? And so they developed a program called Otter Spotter. iNaturalist is one of the largest citizen science programs there is. This is really useful for a lot of reasons. One, there were 14.1 million visitors to the park last year. There's only a handful of scientists in the park. There's only a handful of resources and time that scientists and researchers can dedicate to coming out in these beautiful areas and sitting and documenting the species. So if you could outsource that information, if you could outsource those observations to the 14 million people who come here, you're going to get a massive distribution of sightings of all species, including otters. So if you're in the park, anytime you see an otter or you see a sign of otter, that could be footprints or scat, a whole latrine site, you can upload those sightings into iNaturalist and they'll automatically be binned in that Otter Spotter project. From there, researchers or members of the public can download those sightings and try to understand what the distribution of the species is now, so many decades after reintroduction.